to do something with Iran. And well, I would say this, yes, sir, you should step down. You're unfit for command. To underestimate your enemy, or to even under-listen to or not hear what's being said is a tragedy, and it's a failure of leadership on an unparalleled level. So I would have to say to that man, are you nuts? Are you taking a little bit of wacky tobacco to make it through the day? Something's wrong, Alex. We are being totally encircled.
Now, again, Steve Quayle is our guest. The United States had criminal forces within it orchestrate and carry out the 9/11 attacks. Then that was meant to come out, but only, as I said, day one on the day of the event 7 years ago, to be blamed on the U.S. government. Then the United States orchestrates a sneak attack on Russian territory, so internationally we're even seen as more criminal. The CIA releases the torture photos and videos, admittedly to CBS, to further demonize the United States. The engineered collapse of the country is now being carried out, and our name is being collapsed so that when we are fully brought down into a depression, release bioweapons, atomic attack, whatever it may be, then everybody says we deserve that. You can
Absolutely.
see this. The New World Order are masters of betrayal, and they move from nation to nation, betraying those nations. They always betray their host nation as well. It is betrayal is a sacrament for them. For folks watching at PrisonPlanet.tv, I decided to go ahead and go live. This interview was so important. We're an hour plus into it with Steve Quayle. He'll be with us. Let's just do the rest of the hour. He said he'd do it. And we'll take your phone calls when we get back. In fact, for Infowars.com stream listeners, I'm going to skip this break right now. And we will come back for everybody else on the other side with Steve Quayle. Stay with us. Steve, I don't want to waste any of this time. We're going to come back in 3 minutes to the full AM and FM shortwave audience. But right now we're on the internet with tens of thousands listening and watching. So let's continue with the setup of America. Everything to position us, use our treasure, use our currency, use our inventions, use our labor to build the world government. They wrap it in American flag domestically, so we went along with it. Now we're at the point where we're being sucked dry. Now the betrayal.
Well, the betrayal, and it's interesting because you can't use the word betrayal without including the word treachery. And I remember, Alex, in interviewing some of the Russian spies I talked to, they used to say to me, and I'm not making fun, I mean, one of them said, "Oh, Steve, we had everybody on our payroll." And the guy literally talked like that. And I said, "What did you mean by that?" And he said, "Simple." He said, "What was amazing to us is how cheap we could buy your leaders." Now, Alex, that pissed me off. Okay, sorry for the word, but it did. And I said to this gentleman, I said, are you absolutely pulling my leg, or was it that cheap? And he said, "Oh, no." He says, "And of course, when we can't buy, we blackmail." What most people don't understand is that in this world of Illuminism, when someone is even thought maybe to toe the line, they'll be blackmailed, they'll be compromised, whatever, they'll be photographed, whatever. And that's why you see such strange behavior. 1 minute someone's saying, "Oh, I'm calling for an inquest," and this next minute, "Well, everything's fine." The point is, whom they can't blackmail and bribe, they kill. And that's the same story that we're dealing with daily. Now, here's where we're at, in my opinion. And we are no longer Alex, we're not warning about what's coming. Everything you and I have warned about is here. Everything you and I have warned about is being implemented. Everything that...
And it's only going to get more intense from here. Before the tyranny would go up and down, back and forth. Now it's just an escalation.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Can I say this? It's going to go up and down. And what's really hard for people to understand is there are factions in the Illuminati. There are some incredibly brave men and women fighting this stuff. But then you get into the supernatural realm, and there comes a point where if a nation says to God, "Leave us alone," God says, "I'll leave you alone, and I'll take my hand of protection away." And that's where I believe we are in the United States of America. I am so worried, and I mean this. Look, the bottom line is you don't do talk radio for 15 years and not learn a few things. But what I'm really, really troubled by is the continual denial, even people listening to your show, my show, our shows. What more information can you, Alex Jones, give them? What more information can I give them? Like we were talking off the air. It's one thing to have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, but the Congress should be inundated with millions of people saying, stop the bailout. It's not helping the American people. It's putting the taxpayers...
Oh, it's putting a millstone around our neck. Here we go. We're going back into the full audience right now with Steve Quayle going to the phone calls. Maureen in Virginia, you're on the air with Steve Quayle. Thank you for holding. Welcome.
Hi, it's an honor to be able to talk to either or both of you. Steve, I only heard your show 3 times in my life. Each time you had Mike McQuitty on. Please tell the people what Mike McQuitty said about God setting up cities of refuge. And I know for a fact this is happening because he called me away from my house to another area to do the same thing.
Well, first of all, I think that's really an important, timely point. God never does anything except he doesn't reveal it to the people that are going to be judged. And he also provides a place of escape. Throughout the land, Alex, and what the caller is talking about, people have been spoken to in dreams, in visions, in prayer, to prepare for an onslaught of God's children, people who are going to be running from the cities for their very lives. And I believe that my ministry as a watchman is over, but I believe my ministry as someone who's going to be taking care of a lot of the fleeing, frightened flock is just beginning. So I would just tell the caller that Mike, and God bless him. Do you remember, too, one of the statements he made is he said, once the bleeding in America starts, it won't stop. And, I live with that statement of his in my mind almost every day with no exaggeration. Once the bleeding starts, in other words, Alex, once all the killing starts and all the revolutionary thing, it's going to go nonstop.
Yeah, once the veneer of civilization peels away, once the shooting starts, once the implosion starts, it won't be just New Orleans. The whole country could become like New Orleans.
Absolutely, and I would tell, seriously, when somebody says, what's the most important thing to do to survive, I say, are you worried about this life or the next? Because both are an issue. It doesn't do any good to rail against the New World Order just to go to hell. And, that's a funny thing because I've talked to literally special forces guys that go into the bowels of the earth, and everything that people have seen or read in Dante's Inferno or, any of the Hollywood projections. I asked one special operations guy, probably one of the bravest men in the world, I don't know how you could be braver. I said, so explain to me what you encounter when you go and deal with the stuff underground. And he said, have you ever seen the movie The Cave or Descent? I said, no, I have now, but I hadn't at the time. He said, go look at those 2 movies, The Cave and The Descent, and then multiply it by 1,000. And I said, boy, my brother, and I said, you guys are on a different planet. Your bravery and your love for the Lord is so exemplary. It blew me away, Alex. So this is
pretty wild stuff. Maureen, thank you for the call.
Wild stuff.
Okay, we're going to go in order of the callers here. Buddy in Ohio, you're on the air, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, Alex, I just want to say I appreciate everything you're doing, man. I just got a couple quick questions. I was just wondering, me and my next-door neighbor were talking the other day, and we were just wondering all this whole gold situation. Is there still any gold in Fort Knox? Or
No, they haven't had an audit in that in, more than 40 years, and the gold reserves have been basically handed over to the private banks, looted long ago. Steve Quayle, you want to answer that question?
You nailed it, Alex. There is no gold in Fort Knox. It's been loaned out in the gold loaning program, especially during the Clinton years, followed up by every president that basically came on. They looted the gold. The point is that it was given to central banks, loaned to banks, and then the banks sold the gold. Then it was reloaned to the people they sold it to, and on and on and on. What's going to be interesting, though, the caller needs to know this: China, with its 20,000 reported tons of gold, and Russia, with its close to $1 trillion worth of gold, is talking. They are talking amongst themselves about forming their own Asian currency. If they did that, the U.S. dollar would be dead upon their announcement of it. I believe that was a direct threat to the monetary authorities.
Well, they've been saying the last few weeks that they may create a regional currency over there, and absolutely backed by oil and gold. And China already holds most of the debt here, or the largest apportionment of that. So certainly that is just unprecedented changes are coming.
I would think that the Pentagon should have a financial battalion because basically, they own everything. And I think they're now taking a look at buying a major portion in,
Okay.
Goldman Sachs or something?
Yeah, that's right. Anything else, buddy?
Yes, I was just wondering, is there any other information, any new information on the Barry Jennings thing?
No, Barry Jennings, who reported bombs going off and dead bodies, the deputy emergency manager there in New York in Building 7, died. That is confirmed by his boss, by the spokesman. We put their names in the articles we put out, and people still don't believe it. But the family will not say why he died, and there's no obituary or no report of it. And we're trying to investigate it. Thank you so much. Okay. Appreciate your call. Let's go ahead and talk to Mick in PA for Steve Quayle. Go ahead, Mick.
Oh, first of all, I'd like Mr. Jones and Mr. Quayle. I view you two as gifts from God to His people, and don't think there aren't millions of out here who feel the same way. I would like to ask you. I'm sure you must have researched this at one time or not. Well, since God is so much more powerful than Satan, and Revelation says our battle is against the principalities and powers, not the flesh,